How much sag should my motorcycle have? If you are a motorcycle enthusiast, you may have heard the term sag thrown around, but what does it really mean? Understanding sag is essential for anyone looking to get the most out of their motorcycle's suspension. Let's break it down. Motorcycle sag refers to how much the suspension compresses under specific conditions. There are two main types of sag to consider: static sag and rider sag. Static sag is the amount the suspension compresses when the motorcycle is resting on the ground without a rider. Rider sag, on the other hand, is how much the suspension compresses when you are seated on the bike in your riding gear. So, how much sag should you aim for? The ideal sag can vary based on your motorcycle type, riding style, and suspension travel. However, a good general guideline is that rider sag should be about 25% to 33% of the total suspension travel. For most street and adventure motorcycles, aiming for around 30% sag is a solid starting point. To put that into perspective, if your motorcycle has 100 millimeters of suspension travel, you should aim for a sag of approximately 25 to 33 millimeters when you are on the bike. If you prefer a sportier setup, you might want to lean towards 25% sag for a firmer ride. Conversely, if comfort is your priority, especially for touring, aiming for 33% sag is advisable. Setting sag correctly is important for several reasons. It ensures that your suspension can move effectively without bottoming out or topping out. Proper sag also maintains tire contact with the ground, which is vital for traction and control over bumps. Plus, it helps preserve the correct geometry of your motorcycle, affecting handling and stability. To measure sag, you will need to know your motorcycle's total suspension travel. First, measure the distance with the bike fully extended, then measure again with the bike on the ground without a rider for static sag. Finally, measure with the rider seated to find rider sag. The difference in these measurements will give you your sag values. Adjustments to sag are typically made by changing the spring preload on your suspension. If you often ride with a passenger or carry luggage, you may need stiffer springs to maintain the correct sag. In summary, aim for approximately 25% to 33% of your suspension travel as sag, adjusting based on your riding style and conditions. Proper sag setting is the foundation for effective suspension tuning and safe, comfortable riding.